everybody, it's Kelly and I'm back with a video today. I'm scrapping my cup of coffee. So that chevron paper in the background is by Recollections. It's just called wood chevron. You can buy that at Michael's. I love that background paper. I love the wood grain and then the chevron on top. Then I'm using this circle paper as a mat. It's a scrap that I have left over. It's from Bella Boulevard, the Birthday Boy collection. And the paper is called Streamers. And yay, I actually have had that in my stash since 2012. So I'm very glad to be saying goodbye to that. And I liked the scrap, so I kept it. But it's good for it to be going away, right? So I obviously saved my Starbucks sleeve, and I'm going to use that, and I'm toying with perhaps using some sort of chipboard frame, but it's not going to work out. The frames are not the right color. They're very creamy, and the card that I'm using to the left there is white. That card, by the way, is from Paper Issues, and it's the card that they send to you when you get your order. So it says, first I drink the coffee, then I do all the things, and then underneath it says, I have issues. You can't see that because I covered that with the tag that I'm going to put on there. All right, so the first thing I'm trying to do here is decide how big that photo mat's going to be, and then I'll go from there. And I need to embellish a little bit here. So what I'm doing there is I pulled my puffy coffee cup stickers from Freckled Fawn, and I chose that yellow one. And the reason I'm doing that is that I have that green tag there, and that tag says fresh, which makes sense if I'm drinking a cup of coffee. That tag is from Studio Calico. It's the die cuts, and the pack is from 2011. That green tag sitting up on the right is from 2011 as well, I am ashamed to say. They're like multiple colors. I have a hard time using multicolored tags. I guess a lot of them are anyway, or they're like the green one where there's a lot of writing on it. So I had a hard time doing that, using them. Anyway, so then I'm taking these stamps, and these stamps are from Stampabilities. They're the clear stamps, and they're the coffee stamps, and I bought them at Hobby Lobby recently. So I stamped a couple of things. I stamped that little phrase there that says but first coffee. And then I stamped a couple of the coffee cups. And then lastly, I am going to stamp some coffee, or I stamped some coffee beans as well. So I'm kind of cutting these out, kind of playing around with them. I'm going to do a couple of clusters, which will have some elements in common, but they won't be the same. So it's a nice way to get kind of things to work together, but not to have to be exactly the same. So I'm taking my Jenny Bolin brown sugar ink, which is what I use to stamp all of those pieces there. And I decided to ink the edges of that coffee, and then I decided I wanted to ink the edges of the piece as well. I was going to use that green polka dot paper behind, and then I took it off and decided to just put this the photo cluster with all the embellishment on it, directly to the background paper. I will come back with that polka dot paper though eventually. So I inked that paper, and now I'm just doing a little trim job here on some of the stamps there. And I'm going to ink everything, but I will tell you one of the things that happened is I put the 3x4 coffee card down and did not realize that I had not inked it until after this video was all over. So I went back in and kind of pulled it up, and now that is down. All right, so I'm adding in a puffy sticker, the yellow one, and then a kind of orangey gold one in two of the clusters with the coffee cup or the stamped coffee. So they're not exactly the same, but they're going to have some elements the same. And I'm pulling in color So I'm playing off the yellow on that tag. That was not something I expected to do. I thought I would make this sort of like all brown. And it's funny because I'm wearing like a lavender top there, and I'm not even like, I'm totally ignoring the fact that my sleeve is in there and it's lavender colored. All right, so I told you I was going to bring the green polka dot back, and that is the Doodlebug Petite Prince in Grasshopper Swiss Dot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use kind of a wonky cut strip at the bottom. I'm going to ink that as well, and I'm inking these messy when I'm inking things because that 3x4 card looks like it has coffee rings on, and it's kind of, you know, looks like there's splotches all over it. So I'm purposefully inking everything messy. All right, so I have that down. I have the green tag on the top, which is going to change a little bit. And then I decided my Starbucks cup sleeve was coming up a bit. So I decided I wanted to get that down, to hold down so that it didn't come up. And so I just took my Scotch tacky glue actually out of the bottle versus my fine line bottle. So now I want to add some more yellow in on top here. And I'm going through the tags. And I liked the rectangular one, but there was too much white. So I found that one that says pick one there, but I don't care for it on the left. It feels like the direction of this layout is going to the left because of the angle of my hand. Well, if I put a really tall element on the left side, it's going to kind of stop it and interrupt the flow of the layout, would be the best reason to explain why I'm changing this. So I'm going to take that yellow tag instead and put it up on the right, and that's going to cause me some problems because I have a lot of yellow there. And what kind of happens, and I'll let you kind of watch this as this develops, but it's almost like, because that's a separate piece, I should have put a cluster there, and I didn't. So I have a little bit of a problem with that. And but I'll solve it eventually. So now I'm going to some chipboard from October Afternoon, and I have selected this arrow. It's the October Afternoon Daily Flash chip in To The Point. And I really selected it for the color. I kind of love how these clusters turn out in the end. Then I go to my October Afternoon Daily Flash chips in Stars and Hearts. And I found this wood grain heart, which is perfect. It's chipboard. I haven't had these as long as they've been out, but I have had them quite a while. So it's time to get some of these used up. I used a couple, but not a lot. So then I find a wood grain star and a yellow star, and that's perfect. So again, I'm making the clusters work together and look alike by using color and shape, but none of the clusters are exactly the same, because of the fact that I'm using the color and the shape. And I like to do that. So everything is not necessarily all matchy-matchy. Then I'm going to these burlap flowers from Recollections. These are actually a few years old, a couple of years old, probably 2 years old. And I haven't used very many of them, but they were like the perfect little accents. So the other thing that I like about them is there's a lot of brown on here and a lot of green, but this gets kind of a neat texture in here. And there I go where it's bothering me that that tag up there on the right looks like it needs some help. But I'm going to leave it alone. Anyway, so I add another burlap flower in. I decide I want a little bit more presence of those flowers. And they're easy to glue down with my ATG. They have a little sort of wood seed pearl. Seed bead, I guess, not a pearl because it's not pearl finished. And it just gives a nice, like I said, a nice texture. And I have a lot of texture on this because I have the puffy stickers and the cardstock and the pattern paper and the chipboard and the burlap. And then I have stamped images, and I have the cardboard from the sleeve. So, and the paper of the 3x4 card is a little bit smoother. So lots of great texture on this layout. Definitely one of my favorites. Okay, so that yellow tag is causing me problems, and I decided I needed to get some bright yellow in with the title, and I wanted this to be a longer title, and so I decided to use the small letter stickers instead. So I'm going to title this Birthday Gift Rescue, and the reason I'm doing that is a really close friend of mine gave me a birthday gift, and in that was a Starbucks gift card. Now, I don't have a Starbucks in the town I live in, but there are Starbucks kind of around my area. I'm in a bigger city that's about an hour away from me quite often, and there's one on my way from work to home as well. So the story behind this is I ran a 5K this day, and then I had some errands to run, one of them being going to Hobby Lobby. And because I'd run the 5K and was sweaty and it was cold, I got cold. So I thought of where I was at the time near the Hobby Lobby. There is a Target with a Starbucks in it. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to go use part of my birthday gift and go get an Americano. So that's what I did. Which is funny because I have to drink Americanos decaf because I really can't have that much caffeine. So kind of silly when you think about it, but I just like the flavor of them. So anyway, I'm using these Studio Calico alpha stickers, and they're the self-adhesive letter set. All right, then I'm adding these eyelets. I'm adding these enamel dots here. They're from the Eyelet Outlet and Brad's, and they're just in brown. So I'm just adding 3 of them in each area. And there again is another nice texture on this layout. And here is where I realized that I didn't use the coffee beans. So I'm going to go back and cut them out and just sneak them into my layout. And they look fine, you know, it's just a little extra touch there to add them in. It might have looked different if I had added them earlier, but I actually like the way that it turned out, kind of adding them at the last minute. So I had a lot of fun playing with this stamp set, and this is often how I add stamped images to my layout. Very often I don't stamp to backgrounds because I usually use pattern paper, and so it's hard for me to do that. So a lot of times I stamp them on cardstock and then cut them out and add them in. This layout actually took me quite a while because of all of the stamping and other things. It was a 55-minute process from the time I chose my things until the end of it, which lately I've been closer to 40 or 45 minutes most of the time, 40 minutes being the most common. All right, there is a still shot and a couple of detail shots. Hope you're all well. I'll be back again with another layout soon. Bye!